welcome to our little speech from the Braintech Group, the power of EDI based on GS1 XML 3.4 on the Odoo Experience Days 2020. We're happy to have you here at this little presentation. So briefly to us, who are we? My name is Dominic and with me is Alvaro, the main developer. He will later attend in the Q&A session, but I will lead today's presentation. So yeah, feel free to contact us if you have any questions after the presentation. Let's go quickly to the agenda. Why EDI based on GS1? Furthermore, we will go to the functional part, explain the stuff, how it's working. Then we will have the live session. And in the end, the Q&A session, where you have enough time to really ask all your questions, to get in contact with us together. So we are the Braintech Group, and the Braintech Group has had already several speeches on other Odoo Experience Days. This year we will have as well several talks, so check it out in the internet, and we are in Spain, Switzerland and Germany located. So why EDI based on GS1 XML 3.4 and why GS1, which is a standard organization? We were looking for a real good protocol to interexchange data by EDI, and so we were looking for a quite new protocol or quite new standard, and so we figured out this standard. It was released in February 2019, which is quite new. There are many messages already implemented, so like 54 messages. And it's very good at structured content, so you have XSD files to validate everything against it. And it's fully automated communication between multiple partners, which is as well quite good. So due to that, you don't have to think about has it been processed or not. Due to clean error handling, so you see, yes, the message has been arrived, accepted, the message has had an error, and so on, so that you can interact in itself. And then it's an open standard, which means if you're a partner of GS1, you can participate in defining the standard and you can get access to the standard anyway, even if you're not a partner, because it's public in the internet. And then there's something quite good, something like a developer library. It's the so-called GGG, the global data definition. And there are a lot of attributes already given. So for instance, street, name, company name, and so on and so on. There are a lot of those kind of attributes defined you could really use, and you have as well for selections quite a good set of already predefined values, so that you don't have to rethink about, hey, how do I name this case? For instance, if you're in the trading, if it's late delivery or if it's priority dispatch and so on. So there are a lot of names already defined in there, so you can get all those information by XML and use them direct inside Odoo, which is really quite nice. So let's check out the structure of the message, as I was telling you before, with the structured content. There is as well on the page of GS1 a functional page where you can really see all the attributes given. We have predefined the warehouse inbound instruction. We will use as well in the demonstration, and you can see in here you have like the tree of all the attributes, and you can click on them, and it's interactive view, and you see direct what is mandatory field, what is nice to have field. You see the pattern, what should be used, and if there's something missing, you can add direct those missing attributes in so-called ABP lists, so it's as well extendable. So it's not a real tough skeleton, it's an extendable skeleton. What is needed that everything is working is there are some basics. First of all, you need to identify all the units or all the goods you have. So due to that, GS1 is using GTINs, or you can use EIN codes. Or if you don't have, you can use as well self-assigned numbers, but we really suggest to go to the standard with a GTIN. Then once it's done, you need to capture it. Capturing means you need to know what is the good you have in the hand. So you need to have proper labels, which are first of all computer readable and as well human readable, but with as less information as needed. And in the end, you need to share everything. So as earlier in the whole trading processes, you have all the data given and you have all the information You can send them by EDI so that you know already in advance what is coming, what will be received, what will be delivered, what has been delivered with the dispatch advice, and so on and so on, so that you have really everything direct done. Very easy. In the end, if you're working with multiple partners, so that you really don't lose the track about what will be arriving, what will be shipped, and so on and so on. So that's actually the main keys you need to follow already. And let's go about why we should do it. So what are the benefits? First of all, it's transparent. XML is human readable. Sure, you need to have a little bit of computer knowledge, but it's readable. It's not like the EN-COM standard where you cannot read anything because it's just numbers and you really need to study a lot of numbers. Then it's time saving once it's set up. So it's really processing quite fast. You can process a lot of data within less time. So you can reduce the administrative effort quite a lot. Because you don't have to input everything by hand, everything is transmitted automatically, which is very, very nice. And due to that, you can avoid human errors. So as soon as you process data with XML, they read it inside the system, and yeah, you don't need to type it in. So you don't have any issues with wrong number, wrong format, whatever, or wrong item. So due to that as well, you can process much more data. It takes less than a second until a message is in the system, which is quite quick. And in the end, due to all those kind of stuff, you can save money and you can earn more money, which is good. But to be honest, the biggest pain point is setup and testing. With all the partners, it takes a lot of time to ensure that the processes is working, that they are following the rules, that they understand the standard, that they're really formatting everything proper, and so on. So let's go to the functions and features. We focused on the transactional part of those messages, means everything which deals with trading of items, like orders, order response, dispatch advice, item data notification, and so on and so on. And in the use case we will show, we have focused on the warehouse inbound instructions and the warehouse inbound notification, which is like a pair. You send what will be arriving in a warehouse and you will receive what has been arrived in the warehouse with the acknowledgement message. So there will be the part in the demonstration we will have in some minutes upcoming, so that you really see what's in. But there are many more, like invoices, order response, I told you already. But as well in the invoicing part, you have a lot of possibilities. Transport capacity planning, there are a lot of things you can do. And yeah, due to that, there are many messages you could use. Let's go to the app demonstrations. Thanks a lot for the for being part of this talk. And now we'll show you direct live what is ongoing. Thanks a lot.
We'll do right now the live demonstration from the EDI connector. First of all, I have a very rough installed Odoo system version 12 Enterprise, where the EDI connector is installed and some needed apps are as well installed. So we do have in here the EDI connector. And if I open the EDI connector, you can see direct the configuration. So we do work with EDI instances. As I told you before, there are several possibilities and several files we could exchange. And for instance, in here, I have configured item data notification, warehousing inbound instructions, and warehousing outbound instructions. And furthermore, we have, apart from the send information, receive information, so we can configure as well what are the files which are received. I'll give you a very rough overview from the menu. We do have in here operations, so there are mainly XSD files defined, where you could see how it should look like. So if I open up the DES-ADW, you have as well an explanation what it is. You have some sample information, and all the XSD elements are given in here. Then when we go to the messages, you see a difference between send EDI messages and received EDI message, so that you have all the time a very good overview what is in. So for instance, in here there are by Azure 2 warehouse inbounding instructions. I'll come to that later, what exactly is in. And same with acknowledgement messages as well in there. There are like 5, because I played a little bit around with the system to give you some demonstration data. So you have all the time a very good overview of all messages which has been exchanged or not. Then in the GS1 data tab, we do have the code list. So all possible codes which are available by XML can be imported, for instance, like cargo code types and so on. So the people among you who are familiar with GS1 know them probably quite hard. It's quite structured, so really, really good. Then you can import all the stuff. If you have XML files, you can upload everything in here. And then there's GTINs, so we can assign as well GTINs to products, and if you're owner of GTINs, you see direct which are used and not, so as well a very nice feature. And then there are some GS1 objects like handling temperature, handling instructions, and so on. I will not go into the details regarding that because the main focus is on the connector. Now on the connector, I've installed in here file connector and email connector, but we have as well possibilities to do it over several other channels. In here are just those two installed. When I go to the file connector, you see, for instance, the configuration of Azure. I'll come to that as well in some seconds or minutes to give you an overview regarding that. And in here the configuration, we have the mapping for the inbound configuration and the outbound configuration, and we do have the job queue configuration. So with that we have parallel queue so that we can actually process multiple files in parallel. So let's see how it's looking as time is running. As I told you before, we do have those instances. When I go to the warehousing inbound instruction, you see direct the configuration port. First of all, the Odoo module where the configuration is used for. You see the naming convention. You see filters to apply for the automated process. You see how many messages are processed and generated. You see the structure, and the structure in here works with placeholders. So due to that we have placeholders, we can do in the end the mapping. This is giving the structure, and in here the mapping, for instance, you have hard-coded values, but you have as well values from the database like company ID.street, so that's calling actually the field from the database. But we do have as well the possibility to run Python code. So when I go in here, for instance, there I do format a date, because when I call it from the database, it's not properly formatted following the XSD definition. So you can really run as well like a little bit of Python code, but it's limited. You cannot do all kind of Python interpreter stuff. So, and if you have lines, so that means children, the children's are as well configured in here with the operation inbounding instructions. So in there I have the list of all childs, and if I have multiple childs, it's repeated for each child again and again and again, and there's exactly the same play, the mapping and so on. So you can really define all the attributes you want to, and as I explained on the first slide, if you do have values which are not defined by the GS1 core, you can just use AVP lists, and in the AVP list you can define other information, like for instance, should I use a lot or not, and so on. Sure, you could define some stuff in the transaction trade item as it's given in there, but in here I just wanted to do a sample how you could use the AVP list. So that's everything I want to say regarding the configuration. So let's go to the messages. When you're configuring stuff, it's all the time quite hard to really test the stuff and with multiple partners and so on to see if it's working. So there's a processed messages with the content filled. But if I want to like test if the message is working, we have implemented this test output. When I say test output, I can just say, okay, I want to have, for instance, my ID number 1, and I can say test. And now if I click on test, you see direct the output, how it will be generated. And due to that, I see direct, okay, that mapping is good, that mapping is not good. For instance, in here, the brand name is right now not mapped, so I should probably work on the mapping to have it proper, or the AI is not proper mapped and so on. And then when it's fine, you can say create output message of this so that you can as well test all the stuff. But if it's not done, it's fine. So as I said before, the configuration in here is given for the whole workflow. So when I go to a purchase order, I prepared it already. Let's say this number 9. I do have one receipt. It's a Gemini, where I do have purchased one acoustic block screen, and so it's already processed. And you see the detailed operation is as well set to done. Now let's check a little bit the history in the chatter. So in here you see that an EDI message was created. So when I click on the EDI message, it jumps direct to the EDI message itself. So you see direct the EDI message in here, and you see as well the reply, because in the GS1 you work all the time with the acknowledgement to get the information, yes, could it be processed or not. So when I click on the warehouse inbound instruction acknowledgement and I open it, you see, okay, this is my reply and it's processed, which means actually it's okay. So due to that, when I go back to my VH-in, I have as well in here the whole history, so that it was created, that it was sent, that it was received by the other system with the status received, so it's good. And then we received the message goods stored, which means, okay, he could actually store the goods, and we created an acknowledgement message and send it to the other party. And yeah, due to that, you have here really all the history, what has been done and so on, and you can direct click on the message to get back to the original object. And as well, when you're like debugging stuff, or if you have any issues with messages, you could go in here to the, let's say, output messages. We have generated it. Let's remove briefly the filters. And you want to see the object, you have direct the link to the object, so you can click on the object and you're back on the object. So it's really quite good linked together. And in the sent history, you see direct when has the message been sent and by whom has the message been sent, who created it, and so on. So we really try to make all the workflow very, very good connected and interconnected and inter-exchanged. And yeah, you can resend the message and so on. Let's check briefly another PO I worked on. So there's the number 10 with 10 units, a little bit more, and there it looks quite similar. You have as well the information that it goes from waiting to done, and you see it's done by the Odoo bot. So this work has really been done by receiving the message, and we have in here this GS1 information tab, and there are some information linked to the original XML message. So we have a link to the notification. We have the inbound status goods stored, which means the goods has been processed. We have the logistically event, which is terminal arrival, and I have a link to the PO. And all those variables could be extended to all the other ones, which are possible in the GS1. So it's a question of the mapping in itself. And in there I can go as well back to the original record, and in here you see direct what has been generated in the background. So we create from the XML an object, and this object in the background has some technical information with all the relevant stuff like actual receipt and so on. And no logistical units are given, no packages are given, no handling instructions are given. So you see direct what is as well the content of the XML message. I want to show you as well the content of the reply message received. So when we go to the VH-in here and we click on the message, which is the original message, we will see the original sent message from the other system. And let's scroll a little bit down. You see in here direct what is the actual received quantity, actual accepted quantity, and planned received quantity. So all of them are 10. It could be as well different. And the trigger word is this goods stored in the warehousing inbound status code. And due to that, we do have in the code given some mapping which says if it's goods stored, it's processed to done. So due to that, this record has been generated by the system and the whole process is actually completed. And we have the upcoming Q&A session anyway, so we're looking forward to have time to really review all the questions you might have from this very quick presentation. Thanks a lot for watching, and yeah, I'm happy to have you in the Q&A session right now. Thanks a lot.
Hello everybody, so thank you very much for attending this really amazing presentation of Dominic. So we will start now the Q&A session with Dominique, who is located in Switzerland, and Alvaro, who is in Spain. So it seems, guys, that your topic was really interesting. I have a comment from Josie, first of all, who was telling the most interesting topic today.
Thanks a lot. Thank you.
And you have also another comment from Olivier, looks like being extremely flexible. So you have some positive comments. But let's start now with the
Thank you, Olivier.
So I have a question again from Juicy, who is asking where to get the module and which Odoo versions are supported.
Well, currently we did it on version 12 and 13, and actually S14 has recently released. By today it's not available on 14 yet, but as the core from 13 and 14 is quite similar, so I do guess it shouldn't be a big issue to really migrate to on version 14 as well. To get the module is actually currently just available over Braintech in itself, because the module has been developed for 2 customers of us, which are private, so we cannot tell you which customers it are. But we developed the solution for 2 customers inside Switzerland, and we need to negotiate first of all with them how we can as well use this module for other projects. So just contact us direct. We can come back to you with the right information where to get us. You have as well the credentials from my site underneath the speech, so that we can get in private contact if you're really interested in the module. So no worries. We will find solutions that you can have this module as well, because we want to share it around with each other, but there needs to be done some negotiations with the partners.
Thank you for your reply, Dominique. I have another question from David, and David is asking if it is possible to use EDI connector in Odoo SaaS online, or it needs the on-premise version.
Well, that's well like a technical question in itself, how to inter-exchange the messages and use SFTP to inter-exchange it. So that would be the on-premise for sure, but we have as well file exchange by mail, or we're working currently as well on an AS2 implementation in the background, so that there are multiple ways to inter-exchange the messages. And sure, there can be other connectors developed like a REST API or XML RPC calls or whatever to inter-exchange the messages. So it's really a question of what is in the end the need. But in the end, as long as you're able to inter-exchange EDI messages, you can use it as well in the SaaS version for sure. That shouldn't be a big issue.
Okay, thank you. Can you maybe...
We have it implemented in...
Sorry, let's continue, Alvaro. I interrupt you.
Sorry, no problem. No, I was saying that in addition to what Dominic said, we implemented this as separate modules. So each connector, we can adapt it to the need easily for the needs of anyone, and shouldn't conflict with the messages.
I'm sorry, I don't know if it was clear for everybody, but it seems that we are losing you a lot, Alvaro and Dominic. It seems that the connection is not so much efficient. So sorry for that. Can you hear us? Yeah, sorry, Olivier, for that. We know that the sound is becoming bad.
Yeah, I can hear you.
Yes, I can hear you.
Okay, so maybe that without the video, it will be a little bit better. Dominique, can you hear us very well?
Yes, I can hear you very well.
Okay. Yeah, it seems that now the sound is better. I have another question, actually. Can you maybe tell to us what was the hardest part to implement messages?
Well, I can start if Dominic agrees. For me, the hardest part has been to implement the receival of the messages. How should we behave when we receive something? How do we behave when we receive another information? How to integrate this into Odoo? How to make it flexible to support all the data structures in a Postgres database, and something like this. Maybe you have something to add, Dominic?
Yeah, before to continue, guys, I will just stop you because time is flying and we don't realize it. So actually, so we will have to end the Q&A session. But then what I can propose to everybody is that in a few seconds, we will have a link in the chatter that will appear, that will enable you to join a private room to continue to discuss with Alvaro and Dominic if you have some other questions. And so you can continue to discuss with all the parties. So I can see that the link is now accessible. So Dominic and Alvaro, you can join it, and the people interested also then.
Okay, thanks everybody.
Yeah.
Yes, thanks a lot.
Thank you everybody for your time.
Thanks for watching. Have a nice day. See you.
Have a nice day for some and an evening, I guess, for the others.
Yeah.
Bye-bye.
See you.
Thank you.
Bye-bye.